regardless of what I'm going to say about All Out, I think this was the show that AEW needed in this moment in time. Hello and welcome to FCTR. I am Hugh McQuaid, and today we are talking about AEW All Out 2023. This is my review of the stacked, potentially a bit bloated All Out. A week after All In London, we have a show emanating from Chicago, not featuring the now released CM Punk. It could have gone tits up, for lack of a better phrase, but it didn't. That's my opening thought right there. But before we dive into my full review, please hit subscribe, please like the video, please comment your thoughts down below on All Out as we dive into a show that I don't think was flawless. I thought there was some utterly perfect moments on All Out, and I think from top to bottom it is a very, very solid professional wrestling show. I have my main issues, which are the pacing and the length, because I felt the length on this show. I did. It was just under 4 hours long, and watching it just, some of the matches went a bit too long, maybe weren't placed right on the card, and it led to a show that felt a little bit uneven with insanely high peaks though. Insanely high peaks. So we're going to start off with the main review. I did not watch the 0 hour. I think I probably would have liked it less if I'd have watched another hour of professional wrestling, because it just felt long. It just felt long to me, All Out did. I don't know what it is about All Out, but all of the All Outs I've felt have been a bit too long and can get a little bit hard to digest, if you will. So we're starting with the opening match, which was the Dark Order, John Silver and Alex Reynolds taking on the ROH Tag Team Champions, Better Than You, Baby. I wonder if this is going to be the opening formula for a lot of AEW shows, opening with the Ring of Honor tag titles on the line, because Better Than You, Baby are so goddamn over. And this was a similar match to what they had at Wembley when they took on Aussie Open. It was, the heels get the upper hand, they do the big spots that we want to see, but they added a little bit of a wrinkle in here, playing off MJF's neck. So early on in the match, Alex Reynolds hits MJF in the back of the neck with a steel chair while Evil Uno is distracting the referee, which leads to MJF being taken to the back and Adam Cole having to work the match on his own. And we all know that it's building to MJF coming out and making the big hero save, but it was done very, very effectively. I thought it was a very effective way to build up the friendship and build up the peril that they might lose this on their first go. I think it would have made a little bit more sense if it was the Kingdom and someone who was a bit more likely to win than Dark Order. But Dark Order looked great in this. Looked really good, especially John Silver. John Silver's kicks, when he hits the flurry of kicks on Adam Cole, picture perfect. But it eventually leads to the hot tag as MJF comes down, holding his neck, hobbling a little bit like Cody Rhodes. And yeah, they have a sick comeback sequence where they hit all the big spots, double kangaroo kick from MJF, still selling the neck, and leads to the double clothesline spot on Alex Reynolds. 1, 2, 3. Solid, send the crowd into a frenzy opening match. It was really fun opening tag match between these two. Got them on the card and furthers a new feud, because not only did we have this solid Ring of Honor title defense, as Better Than You, Baby are walking up the ramp, Samoa Joe's music hits and Samoa Joe comes down to the ring, pushes MJF, much like he did in that NXT TakeOver video package promo entrance back in the day, which leads to MJF running down, getting in the face of Joe, security come down and break them up. This is fantastic. Joe versus MJF. Yes, please. Absolutely, yes, please. You wouldn't have done this if you're not teasing that down the road. I'd imagine Samoa Joe's probably going to be in this title tournament that Roderick Strong's in, and will either lead to Roddy versus MJF or Joe versus MJF at Arthur Ashe. And I cannot wait, because Joe is probably an unsung hero. To be honest, I think he's had a fantastic year that's flying under the radar a little bit. Joe has been one of the most consistent performers of the year, and I can't wait to see him tangle up with MJF. Then, of course, we got Samoa Joe taking on Shane Taylor for the Ring of Honor Television Championship in a short match that I think got off to a blistering pace and was only about 6 minutes or so. It wasn't a particularly long match, but it showcased everything that Shane Taylor can do, everything that Samoa Joe can do, and just all the good stuff that you want to see. Hitting each other very, very, very hard. Lots of strikes, lots of chops in this match, which led to just an insanely cool finishing sequence where they're just battering the piss out of each other, and Joe just gets the upper hand, clocks Shane Taylor, so he turns around and locks in the Coquina Clutch for the win, for the tap-out victory. Makes Joe look awesome. Shane Taylor didn't lose anything. Of course, it's his first AEW pay-per-view debut, so he didn't need to win, and I think it just made Joe look awesome. It made Joe look like a killer on the road to MJF, so I can't wait to see what we're going to do with Joe and MJF, and this was the perfect little match to encapsulate that. Then we got an awesome match between Luchasaurus and Darby Allin that went a lot longer than I thought it would, and Darby just selling all over the place. His poor back. He obviously said in an interview that he really hurt his back at Wembley when he dove onto the steel coffin, and they played that up in this a lot. Lots of power moves, a spot where Luchasaurus pulled the steel steps onto the back of Darby and then walked up the steps. It just looked nasty, and yeah, there was a lot of sort of just Luchasaurus dominating, leading to a few comebacks from Darby where he'd hit like a Stundog Millionaire, or he'd go to hit a dive. He made this really funny comeback. He knocks Luchasaurus down as a 6 springboard into a splash, goes for a crossbody, and Luchasaurus just no-sells it, and Darby just splats off it. It looked sick. It looked so good. But it did lead to ultimately a great ending sequence in which lots of cool moves from Darby. One of the crispiest looking victory rolls, I think it's called. Victory rolls? No, what's it called? I can't think of the move. I can't think of the name of the move. A sick looking move where he rolls over and slams Luchasaurus. Damn, my brain is gone. And a really awesome near fall off a top rope sunset flip, code red. Bomb. But it led to a very interesting finish where Christian Cage, of course, the little bastard that he is, gets Nick Wayne on the floor. He's going to hit a concerto on him. Darby gets distracted. That's where Luchasaurus gets the upper hand and wins, retaining the championship for Christian Cage, because let's be honest, Christian Cage is fantastic with that belt, fantastic in this gimmick. And yeah, we'll see what they do going on from here. I'd imagine Darby's going to take some time off and maybe come back in a few months. Christian Cage can rule over Collision. And yeah, very, very excited. Really, really fun TNT title match. I can't wait to see what Christian Cage does from here. Then we got probably the surprise of the night. Miro took on Powerhouse Hobbs in a match that I was almost certain wouldn't be given a lot of time and wouldn't be given a lot of note. But my God, they gave Miro and Hobbs a lot of room to breathe, a lot of room to play, and the crowd ate it up. Lots of big men slapping meat chants, lots of meat chants, and they just beat the piss out of each other in a big Powerhouse Hoss match, which I really, really loved. It felt very different to everything we had. Even the Samoa Joe Shane Taylor match felt a lot different to the Miro Hobbs match. And yeah, they just wailed on each other. Big move after big move after big move after big chop after big clock after big punch, big slam, and it was enjoyable. It was very enjoyable. It might have gone on a little bit too long for my personal liking, but I can't argue with what they did in the ring, and it was really, really fun, really, really cool. And then when it reached the ending sequence and it was near fall after near fall, Miro had hit the kick. I don't think he called it the match kick. He might still call it the match kick. I'm not sure. Hits that, near fall. Hobbs goes for spinebuster, near fall. Miro hits a spinebuster of his own, near fall. Game over, near fall. It just kept building, and I really, really loved that they gave these two time to shine on a stacked clogged pay-per-view. And yeah, Miro picked up the win with the game over. Fantastic. Miro can go on to dominate, maybe put him in a feud with Luchasaurus. I think that'd be really interesting to see where that goes, especially having Christian Cage now potentially banter off the debuting CJ Perry, who made her way to the ring after Hobbs started beating down Miro post-match. And Miro looked a bit shocked. A little bit of friction between CJ Perry and Miro as he's forsaken his wife. We'll see where this leads, but it's very, very interesting and very captivating. Makes you want to tune in to Collision to see what we get from Miro and CJ Perry and where they're going to go with this. The Redeemer character is just so cool, and this was a really, really fun, explosive big man match. Then we got one of my lowlights of the night. Chris Statlander defending the TBS Championship against Ruby Soho. Overall, I think this was a good match. They got a lot more time than most women's matches do on Dynamite or particularly All In, but I just don't think they've been given enough meat or enough, story crux to do this match and make it feel interesting. And yet again, excluding 0 Hour, which don't really count particularly, one women's match on the main show, and it was a bit disappointing, a little bit underwhelming. There were a few nice bits in here, like Ruby Soho pulling Statlander into the destination kick. I'm losing track of all the moves. So, was it into the rocket kick, into the destination unknown for a very close near fall. That was really fun. And then we get to the finish. So I have several issues with this. For one, Saraya on the outside running round is not the same Saraya that was at Wembley Stadium. It's just not. It's a completely different character that we've got for Saraya now. She was completely different on whatever happened at Wembley, so she doesn't feel consistent in that regard. Like, what is she, a bad guy? Is she a good guy? What's going on? And then the finish for the match I thought was so lame and cheap. Toni Storm comes out from under the ring. She's going mad, essentially. She's going mad with this new gimmick that she's got. And she just takes the spray paint that Ruby was going to use to cheat and just starts spraying it in the air, which distracts Ruby enough for Statlander to hit the Sunday Night Fever and win. Oof, it was the worst. I really, really didn't like the finish. I think it made Toni look bizarre and not captivating in a good way. I think it made Ruby look dumb. And I think it made the Outcasts in general just look like a bunch of goons, essentially. And it's not the kind of finish you wanted for your only women's match on the show. Just let them have an utter class banger. But it got marred by this crap finish. I really didn't like it. I might be in the minority, but I really, really didn't like the finish for this match. And it tainted the rest of the match, which I thought was solid. It's better than the usual women's matches that we get on Dynamite. But it's a bad finish. Bad finish. And more care should have been put into that, in my opinion. Then we got my match of the night. Ricky Starks versus the American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, in a strap match. Poor Bryan Danielson. He pulled back, presumably earlier than expected from his injury, put into one of the most grueling, brutal strap matches that I've seen in a while. And he just got absolutely laid into. He was pouring with blood. His back was so red, his chest was so red, and so was Ricky Starks, because they did not pull on these strap shots. So first of all, it seems now CM Punk's gone, Tony Khan's got more money, so he splashed out on the final countdown again for Bryan Danielson. Maybe that'll be for his pay-per-view entrances, perhaps, but we shall see. And this just got off to a blistering, ruthless start where they just beat the piss out of each other. They weren't even, because I don't think Danielson could probably do many technical moves because he said in the interview, the post-match scrum, that Ricky sort of carried him through this match and he couldn't really hit with his broken arm. So they didn't do many big spots like that. It was literally just wailing on each other in different ways with the strap. And they did it so much and so hard, and it was so ruthless that it just fired something up. And Danielson can have match of the year contenders with a goddamn broken arm. It's just fantastic. I loved everything about this. The finish, the element of Ricky Steamboat being on commentary and him adding these really big pregnant pauses to questions that they'd ask him. And what else can I say? It was just phenomenal. Some great spots. Danielson sending Ricky Starks into Big Bill was awesome. Wrapping Starks around the ring post and just laying in these strap shots were brutal. Danielson hulking up after getting some of the most brutal strap shots to the face that I've seen in a long, long time, and just no-selling them, and then laying back into Ricky with the kicks was fantastic. Pulling Ricky into the Psycho knee was great. And yeah, the ultimate finish where Ricky didn't tap, he didn't submit, he passed out as Danielson locked in the label lock, wrapped the strap around the throat of Starks, yanked back, and Starks sold it to perfection, and he passed out. Loved it. I absolutely loved this match, and it is one of my